Hey y'all, how's it going? This is Josh, aka Outlaw Bebop, with a movie review that is, of the new Jordan Peele movie, Nope. Nope is a science fiction horror film that was written, directed, and produced by Jordan Peele under his Monkey Paw Productions banner. It stars Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, Steven Yeun, Michael Wincott, and Brandon Perea. The film itself is about OJ, portrayed by Daniel Kaluuya, and M, or Emerald, portrayed by Keke Palmer. These two characters are siblings that inherit a ranch from their father, and the family business has always been them wrangling and training and preparing horses to be in films and other productions, and they need a big break. Luckily or unluckily for them, strange happenings start happening around the ranch. Keke Palmer's character, has an idea that they could actually make money off of these supernatural or maybe extraterrestrial happenings. Now, getting into the things that I liked, I must say that Jordan Peele really showed out in this movie when it came to just the overall shot composition. I thought there were so many shots in this movie, especially during the second half, that just looked amazing. Due to how well everything else in this film is written, you get filled with tension and you feel incredibly small. We also have to get into the special effects. You would think, in a movie with a budget like this, compared to, the recent Marvel and DC movies, that the Marvel and DC movies would look 10 times better, but somehow this is shot and the special effects look so much more realistic. The aspect of this film that I think that was also something that I must commend was that there weren't really that many jokes. They were just funny moments. There were usually reactions that were incredibly relatable, and you would say, yeah, I would probably react very similarly. Nothing that was too on the nose, nothing like quips and stuff like that. Of course, there are, comic relief characters in this movie, but somehow Jordan Peele has found like the right medium, especially after how in his previous film, Us, I felt like they were a little too quippy, like a Marvel movie, despite the fact that they were experiencing something that would probably scar you for life. Instead, they were just making jokes and referencing memes during the second half of that movie. Whereas in this movie, things stay pretty serious. There are jokes, there are things that are meant to make you laugh, but it makes sense in the context of the situation that these characters are in. Another thing that I must commend on Jordan Peele's behalf is just how scary and intense this situation is, despite the fact that you would assume this subgenre, science fiction horror, I guess you could say, we probably should be jaded at this point when it comes to aliens or interdimensional beings, but somehow just the personality that the antagonistic force has in this film is incredibly sassy and petty at certain points, which I think is incredibly terrifying considering how this antagonistic force is set up. It's not your average alien science fiction movie or interdimensional science fiction movie. The biggest thing that I have to give credit for in this movie has to be just the overall essence of this film. And what I mean by that is this is just a movie trying to be a movie. It doesn't warrant a sequel. It doesn't need a sequel, and they're not attempting to make a sequel in this film. This is its own story. If they ever do make a sequel, hopefully it's good, but I would prefer if this was just its own story, very similar to how Get Out and Us are just their own stories, and that's it, that don't need like a follow-up or, a prequel explaining thing. Sometimes movies don't need to explain the existence of certain things. You can question, the rules and the overall landscape of the universe that the movie is set in, but you don't necessarily have to explain every minute detail, especially when it comes to the situation that these characters are in. Like, if the characters could care less about the origins of whatever's happening and how it started, then the film itself doesn't need to explain it. So for now, let's move on to the things that I didn't like. Overall, I think the biggest criticism universally with this film is, at least to me, I should say, is the overall length. This movie could have been like an hour and 45 minutes, an hour and 50, and it would still be just as effective, just as scary. When I was leaving the theater the first and the second time, I was like, man, that movie could have been a few minutes shorter. Another big criticism for this movie for me personally, and seeing it with my friends, we all shared the same sentiment that at least up until I want to say like the halfway point in the movie, Keke Palmer's performance is really just annoying. In a movie that you're supposed to have, I guess, the comic relief sidekick character. In this, unfortunately, she comes off as like Chris Tucker. But by the time we get to the second half of the film, a lot of her reactions and things that she says are completely warranted. So it's no longer annoying to me at that point, but it definitely was for the first half. There's no real standout performance from any of the cast. Brandon Perea, for the most part, is like a new face that, you know, I wasn't familiar with, and he has a lot of great moments. But overall, everybody in this movie, except for Keke Palmer, seems to be like really toned down and vanilla. Steven Yeun's character, you know, from the trailer and how his character is presented and how his wardrobe is, you would think he would be a much more larger than life character, or at least half of that. But no, he's a regular guy. And also the character, I believe that was played by Michael Wincott. He was a little too extra for this movie. Kind of cheesy. Like, there's a part where he speaks the lyrics of a song, and it just kind of goes on for a little too long. Now, unlike Us and Get Out, the message of this film isn't as heavy-handed. It is clearly talking about something, but if you're not paying attention, you really wouldn't be able to identify what's going on. I felt like the Gordy's home subplot would have been better for a different movie, or if it was just executed in a better way. Like, if Steven Yeun's character was presented as more of a main character as opposed to honestly and truly a supporting character, this would have hit a little bit more. Overall, I thought this movie was a really good time. I enjoyed this movie more than Us, and a little bit more than Get Out as a film. But I'll still say that Get Out is a much better, tightly written film. Like, everything in Get Out, the script is impeccable and everything comes together. This isn't trying to be that, and I feel like people, especially with Us, wanted that, including myself, which is why I think Us is still a bit of a disappointment in comparison to these two movies. In a day and age where we have Marvel movies and everyone copying that Marvel formula of connective universes and, you know, building to sequels and quipping every 5 minutes, this movie kind of ignores that, and it's in its own lane of just being a really fun science fiction adventure film. After seeing this movie, much like after seeing Get Out and after seeing Us, I am very excited for Peele's next outing, because even with my reservations on the tone and the plot of Us, and especially considering the literal scale of this movie is much bigger than Get Out and Us. Just imagine like any of like the more ambitious shots that you saw in those two movies happens tenfold in this one. I would definitely recommend this movie. It is a 8 out of 10. If you enjoy this review, please like, share, comment, subscribe. If you would like more reviews, please let me know. You guys have a good one, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.
Yeah, nah.